So what is your message, and what are you trying to get across in your songs?
Well, it's always about being yourself, and not being ashamed of looking different or being different. I try and take people's ideals, common morals, flip them around and make people look at it in a different angle. I'd question them so that you're not taking things for granted.
Okay, but why all the bizarre get-up? I mean, why all the nail polish, the Satan stuff? You were the minister in the Church of Satan, right?
No, not necessarily. It was a friend of mine who's now dead who was a philosopher that I learned a lot from, and that sort of became a title that I was given. So a lot of people made out of it.
But if you wanted to get those lonely kids and you want them to be creative and burst out of that, why the bizarre presentation which can be misinterpreted?
I think everybody's got a presentation. Everybody looks a certain way because they want to convey a certain image. You could look a certain way because you want people to listen to you in a certain way.
Are you an exhibitionist?
I'm kind of shy, and I take it out by performing it in front of a lot of people, and that's how I get out from my shyness.
But you've done some pretty bizarre things on stage. I mean, they tell me that you engaged in a sex act with another woman and on a stage in Miami.
Okay, that is true to a certain degree. It wasn't so much a formal sex act. No one was aroused.
But why did you do that though?
Somebody ran on stage and pulled down their pants, so rather than let them make a laugh out of me, I grabbed them and turned them around on me. My parents were in the audience.
Your parents were in the audience?
And I introduced my father to the gentleman that came on stage, so if my father approved of it, I don't see it to be that shocking.
But it was shocking.
It was entertaining to me.
To you it was. If kids saw you simulating or doing whatever happened with a sex act with another woman, maybe they would go out and do it too.
Well, I can't be blamed for something like that. I don't encourage people to choose any sort of sexuality, but I just try to entertain people. That's an odd example because it was a rare occasion with someone ran on stage and took their clothes off. It's not something I would normally do, but I thought it was funny to me.
You have a stand on sex. You encourage kids to have sex.
No, I do have a lot of sexual imagery in my performance, but I don't think it's ever encouraging anyone to have sex. I think I just show my sexuality, but I don't think I've ever really written about having sex. I think that's also another thing that parents should be deciding.
But remember now, a lot of kids don't have parents that really care about it. And those kids tend to gravitate to people like you.
If some kid asked me should I have sex, I'd say, how old are you? And I'd say, well, I lost my virginity when I was 16, so there's my inspiration to you. I would have tried sooner, but I just couldn't find any guys to like me.
Well, I gotta say, you're a pretty well-spoken lady, yet in your records you use a lot of swearing. Is it necessary to get your message across to use that kind of language? You use it for sexual imagery, you use the shocking physical appearance, you've done some bizarre things on stage, and you use profanity. Is all that necessary?
Sometimes, I think when you're making a point, I don't think my lyrics are overlaced with profanity because I myself don't speak a lot of profanity in a normal conversation, but when you're making something aggressive and you need to get a point across, like if you're angry, sometimes profanity is necessary. It's better to use a curse word than to hurt somebody else.
I find you can take some of your lyrics as, you know, you'll understand when I'm dead. I mean, disturbed kids can take the lyrics and say, when I'm dead everybody's gonna know me.
Well, I think that's a very valid point. I think that's a reflection of television in general. If you die and enough people are watching, you become a well-known admirer. So when you have these kids that are angry and they have something to say but no one's listening, the media sends a message that if you do something loud enough and it gets our attention, then you will get famous for it. Those kids ended up on the Time magazine, and the media gave them exactly what they wanted. That's why I don't usually do interviews when that happened, when I was being blamed for, because I felt that I would be contributing to what I found to be reprehensible.
So you don't believe that your songs reflect any kind of suicide wish or anything like that?
No, I feel my songs talked about getting through feelings like that.
So what do your parents think of you?
My parents weren't sure at first. They wasn't sure what I was doing. They wanted me to be a writer, so I started out as a journalist. I still feel that I am a journalist in a way because I see things and I report them back to people in my own fashion and songs. My mom was a big fan of Elvis Presley and I hated it as a kid, but now I kind of grown up to fill in some of the controversy that he created back in his day, but in a much more extreme modern sense.
Never before this country have so many corrupted influences descended upon children at one time, and that most children don't understand what you're doing and why you use the F word and acting bizarre. This can be very troubling to children who don't have direction or responsible parents.
Well, anything can be misinterpreted. People can look Christ on a cross and think this is an image of murder or this has sexual imagery in it. I think it's my job as an artist to be out and pushing people's buttons and making them question everything. I respect you for challenging me.